I'll kick us off and say welcome again to the Conservation Finance Alliance Incubator. This is round three, an informational webinar. And I'm David Myers, the Executive Director of the Conservation Finance Alliance, and we're thrilled to be hosting the incubator again this year with support from Milky Wire, and we'll have a word from Jill in a bit. But let me just give a quick introduction here, and the goal of this is largely informational. We want to share with you the process that we've got this open call for proposals and how that works, and what the timing is, and give you a heads up. We may extend the time period a little bit because it all started quite early at the beginning of the year, and so it's taken people a bit of time to get into the swing of work. So we may give people an extra week or so. But let me just start out with the agenda for today. So I'm going to give a little bit of introduction to the Conservation Finance Alliance, an overview of the incubator, its objectives. I'll share a little bit about what we have done for rounds 1 and 2, which occurred over the last few years, and just some on how it works, the operations, and then we'll talk a little bit about the selection process and the support that we provide, and then we'll have plenty of time for questions and answers at the end. So before we dive into this, maybe I'll ask Jill to just say a few words about Milky Wire and why what your interest has been in supporting this, and why it's important to your program. So Jill, over to you, and I'm going to stop sharing. So you got.
Great. Thanks a lot, David. Hi, everyone. It's really nice to see all these people joining in, and I assume they're from all over the world. My name is Jill. I'm a nature lead at Milky Wire. Milky Wire is a Stockholm-based impact startup. And what we do is we connect companies and businesses to projects on the ground. We have thematic projects both on climate and nature. And the support for this incubator is part of our nature initiative called Nature Transformation Fund. One of the pillars for this initiative is on innovative finance, because I think we're all aware of this gap in financing needed to meet the 2030 goals. So that was the reason we even set up this pillar. And as part of this pillar, this incubator came on board, and I've seen David's work over the years. I've also seen the type of initiatives that come from the incubator. So I'm quite excited to see what comes through, and also have some learnings, because from what I understand, it's a small community, but it's growing quite fast. So yeah, excited to be part of this.
Excellent. Well, thank you, Jill, and greatly appreciative of the support and interest in this area. So yeah, I think one of our last round, actually our first round incubator projects, which I'll talk about in a bit, is actually another one of your supported projects, the Blue Alliance. So okay, so let's get into the presentation a bit here. So the Conservation Finance Alliance is an organization that's been around since 2002 as a hosted organization. And we now have around 2,800 members, over 40 institutional members, and the members are, just contribute their time and knowledge to the organization in various forms. We have different working groups and task force. The task forces come on for specific projects. But the working groups are primarily the innovation working group, which supports the incubator. We had a protected area finance working group, which is now the World Commission on Protected Areas Sustainable Finance Specialist Group. And if you're interested in protected area finance or conserved areas, please join that group through the IUCN. We have a Marine and Coastal Finance Working Group, which released a pilot methodology that's quite interesting. You can find on our website, that looks at how to identify and prioritize different finance solutions in marine and coastal areas. And then we have the environmental funds working group, which really has been the longest running working group and has had different task force working on some of the products I'll mention below, which is that we produced a white paper back in 2020 on conservation finance, which is a really good framework and a taxonomy of conservation finance mechanisms. And we produced in 2020 as well two really key documents on conservation trust funds, both this sort of 10-year summary, which is called Conservation Trust Fund 2020, and the practice standards for conservation trust funds and update. We've been working with the Global Fund for Coral Reefs over the years. It's a blended finance instrument, and we're about to release, together with the IUCN Royal Commission on Protected Areas, practice guidance for protected and conserved area finance. We also do various capacity building programs with our partners, Conservation Strategy Fund, and with Yale and Kinship and other partners. So, and then, of course, the CFA Incubator project, and we have a Nature Finance Accelerator project we're working on for nature credits as well. So that was my really quick introduction to the CFA. The incubator itself seeks to identify, support, and promote innovative solutions and entrepreneurs that are addressing conservation finance challenge and opportunities. The reason why we write this, and again, with great thanks to the Nature Transformation Fund and Milky Wire in collaboration with Klarna, the reason why we write this way, like addressing conservation finance challenges and opportunities, is because it's not our philosophy is it's not all about just raising money. It's not all about funding. It's about using finance mechanisms and tools to achieve conservation outcomes. And so that's really an important focus of the incubator and of our interpretation of conservation finance. So we strongly encourage a full range of approaches that address these issues. So, and we've described them in the past as sort of conservation finance ventures and concepts. So the ventures part could be businesses that are seeking to generate a positive return, a financial return, but it could also be policy solutions. So they should be innovative solutions to conservation challenges. They should create clear conservation outcomes or sustained financing. They, as I said, may return a profit either as an independent company or as a financial product, for example, a type of bond or a type of interesting loan or something like that. And they're going to almost all use different finance and economics tools. Thinking about how to use knowledge and tools from finance for. So when we were different from other incubators in that we're really focused on conservation finance. A lot of other incubators may be focused on conservation businesses. We are really focused on conservation finance, and the fact that it could be both a for-profit or nonprofit approach is also quite unusual. So we have run 2 rounds of proposals, and the first round ran in 2020 to 2021, the second in 2022. In general, we've gotten about 75 full proposals from across the globe. Roughly about half were companies. And in the first round, we supported 15 different projects. 5 received funding. And in the second round, we narrowed it down a bit. So we accepted 5 with funding. And it was really fascinating working with all these different groups and entrepreneurs. And I'll give you a kind of overview of some of the projects. These are the 5 main funded projects in round 1. So Blue Finance, which is now Blue Alliance, looked at the coral reef restoration as a mechanism for coastal protection. And I'm happy to say that they're doing very well around the world right now with their innovative approach to marine protected areas. Halcyon and WWF collaborated for a project on a thing called a Rubber Trust Fund, which was an attempt to get global brands to contribute money to a fund that would support farmers. A lot of rubber's outsourced, and that's still going on. GreenFi, an interesting organization that has worked on microfinance, basically savings and loan associations with local communities. And so it's access to credit tied to conservation. Rimba, which is worked in Malaysia and have transformed. They really have done a great job of bringing innovative finance to conservation of intact areas in Malaysia, and then Natrix, which is or it's a company that focuses on coral restoration and protection, and they've followed up our program with a $1 million grant from the U.S. government and have been doing very well commercially and expanding their products. So that's sort of the key companies from round one. Round two, we had Planet Tracker with a blue recovery bond, which is an attempt to create a financial instrument to improve financial incentives, to reduce the financial incentives for overfishing and support fisheries that seek to slow down their effort, try to increase the productivity. Fascinating approach, and they have an online calculator that enables you to look at that model a bit. It's very interesting. Kiva and WWF collaborated. Kiva is a microfinance organization to see how they could work with microfinance and conservation enterprises in the Amazon. And that was a really interesting project as well. Conservation Capital had a concept called Mwenzi Capital, which is a really interesting profit sharing approach for nature-based enterprises in Africa, and quite innovative. Ocean Eye is a for-profit company, and they use tourism observations to facilitate micropayments to coastal communities based on sightings of megafauna and rare animals as you go diving in some of the more interesting areas of the world. And they've got projects operating throughout Indonesia and other places. And Ngwale Inventions, a group in Africa that was designing a digital solar powered organic pesticide and fertilizer dispensing machine. It was quite innovative for Africa. The idea was to get organic fertilizers to farmers in a convenient way. So those are some examples of some of the projects that have come in before. In terms of how the whole thing operates, it's basically run by the CFA Secretariat. We provide overall management and oversight. We're supported by the Conservation Strategy Fund, which hosts the CFA and as our key partner. There's a technical review committee that is historically been made of about 6 members, and they'll review all of the submissions, and I am not part of it, so I'm able to provide feedback to you, unbiased feedback, but I cannot influence the committee's choices on projects. And then Conservation Strategy Funds providing contracting and administrative oversight. In general, the incubator is led by myself and Ben Guillaume, who we'll hear from in just a minute. And we also are hiring an incubator manager, and the 3 of us together with administrative support will keep the thing flowing well, along with our mentors and other CFA members. So the timeline is the following here. We've planned to so we have two feedback windows, one feedback window and two sort of deadlines. One is for this initial feedback. So if you submit a concept, is very short. I'll explain what that concept entails in a short while. But it's basically just a paragraph describing what it is you're planning. We will provide you some feedback, either written or organize a call in the next few weeks to give you some feedback, to brainstorm a bit on how to improve the concept, so you have a stronger full proposal. The full proposals, you could go directly to the full proposal. You don't need to pass through the concept feedback window. And that deadline is currently February 20th. I mentioned at the beginning, we're thinking of extending that to basically February 28th, to the end of February. And we will do the assessment and announce the cohort in March. And then the incubation period will follow from after contracting, from April through November of this year. So that's the overall timing. And we will post on our website whether we're going, well, let's consider we're going to extend the full proposal deadline for 1 week. So it'll be the 28th. The short concept feedback is basically really simple. You have a name for the concept, who are the contact peoples, you want to capture the idea in a concise sentence. In other words, if I had to ask you just really quickly, what is it that you're trying to do? If you could say it in one sentence, that's what you want to put there. And then your elevator pitch or your sort of a concise paragraph. Usually, we recommend about 5 sentences that capture the following pieces here. What's the context? Why is this an opportunity now? What is the actual solution you're proposing? What are the expected outcomes? And what are the key next steps? So it's really concise, like you're in an elevator with Bezos, and here's your chance to pitch him. And as I said, we'll have both written feedback or an offer of a quick discussion. It'll be sort of just a half an hour brainstorm discussion, but those are really interesting, and we look forward to organizing those in the next few weeks. The full proposal is a bit longer. It's based a lot on the same pieces. So it starts with the one sentence, your elevator pitch, but then it looks at, what's the socioeconomic model? Why does the concept work from both an economic and social point of view? What's the impact on nature? How will the successful implementation of the solution improve conservation or sustainable use or restoration, whatever you're focused on? A little bit of information more on who is proposing this, who's the either champion or the lead actor. You can obviously include, the whole team there if you're working as a team. Who are the key partners? A rough budget broken down by year, let's say, of the whole implementation of the project. And it could be, again, really rough. This is something we'll work on in more detail during the incubator if you're accepted. And then also a rough timeline with a couple of key milestones. What do you hope to achieve when? And we do use milestones in the contracting phase, so it's good to have an idea of at least initially what your thoughts are, and then providing any additional information that you have. And we do request CVs of the lead proponents, and if you have any kind of presentation or anything like that, please attach that in please attach a link to it or a file. And there's 2 ways to submit both the initial idea for feedback and the final submission. There's a Google form, which basically requires, if you're going to upload actually it requires you to have a Google account, in one form or another. So we've created also this alternative version, which is just a Word document that you download, you fill out, and you send back with attachments, both for the idea and for the final application. So this is a shot of the website here, and the address is conservationfinancealliance.org/incubator, and yeah, there's more information on this website, and very much and there's this email incubator@CF Alliance that you can reach us anytime with to ask questions, and yeah. And then there's the vetting and selection process is, you have to demonstrate your conservation impact. That's in order to be considered. You can't be seeking to address other issues. And then we have a series of selection criteria you can see here. I'm not going to go through all of them, but it's the strength of the concept. Innovation is a key point. The skills and experience of the proponent is weighted heavily, as well as the conservation benefits weighted heavily, but otherwise it's quite a broad range of criteria. As I mentioned earlier, 10, maybe I didn't, but 10 proposals will be selected, with the top 5 preferred proposals receiving grants of up to 25,000. We will proceed with the due diligence process after this initial acceptance. We establish specific milestones. They form the basis of a grant. We are building a roster of mentors from the CFA membership. If you would like to be a mentor, just send us an email again at incubator@cfalliance.org. And we're looking forward to launching all the projects in April. There's a support program in here. Maybe I'm going to call out to Ben Guillaume to just say a few words. And Ben and I do this incubator support program together, and we also provide mentorship to the projects. And it's been great to be working with Ben for the first two rounds, and looking forward to working with you on this one. So Ben, I'm going to just unshare and let you just say a few words about your experience with the incubator so far.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks a lot, David. And very excited that we have a phase 3 and more company and more entrepreneurs to work with. So very briefly, I started in the field. I was a wildlife vet in Africa, and just like you guys, got frustrated. We didn't have any money to do the job. So went back to school, and then I had the chance to really explore the whole range of financing. Started the World Bank, the IFC, worked in private equity, focused on nature at a time where nobody knew what that was. And then now it's been 10 years that I'm building and I'm helping other people build ventures around nature. And that spans from strategy ventures with companies that are more ESG focused, so it's more philanthropic, to purely commercial ventures with people developing biodiversity offsets and trying to generate returns from that. So very excited to be coaching some of you. Just don't hesitate to reach out if you have any questions.
Great, thanks Ben, and great to have you on again, and I'm looking forward to working with you again on this. So I'm going to just run you through a little bit of what we do for the incubator support program. So it's basically a training program to a certain extent over the course of about 6 weeks, where we'll go over the business model canvas, a one-page business plan. So the first section is around business planning. We'll have an introduction to financial modeling and financial statements that Ben leads, greatly appreciated. And then we do, projecting costs and revenues. You look at your own projects and companies and do your own projections. Preparing an investor deck, again, that Ben leads on. And then we will go into, depending on the companies, we'll do a section on finance solutions. How do you identify and prioritize finance solutions, screen them, and do feasibility assessments? So refining your model. And then financing at the end, we'll have a session with some donors and investors so that they can share what it is that they're looking for and give you some feedback. So that's the overall incubator support program. As I mentioned, we do have a mentorship as part of this, and so 2 CFA mentors will be provided to each team for the course of the virtual incubation period. Myself, the incubator manager, which we're currently hiring, and Ben Guillaume will provide technical support and mentorship to all projects. So we'll divide our time up among them. And then we have a significant resource library online as well. At the end, we hope that each project it depends on each project, but for the most part, they do come up with a final business plan or pitch deck, for example, and we will create opportunities to either present these virtually or at CFA or partner events. The idea is to present these to potential donors or potential investors, and we seek to share the knowledge gained through these innovative solutions broadly. We'll do it through webinars and social media, and we hope to introduce you to the right potential funders and other sources of financing as we go forward. So I'm gonna stop here and open it up for questions. I see people are putting some questions already in the chat. That's great. If you could put your questions in the chat or raise your hand, I want to shout out to some of our original donors, Mava Foundation and FFEM that financed the first couple rounds, and Milky Wire financing this round. And then we have technical partners, Conservation International Ventures, BNP Paribas, and Conservation Strategy Fund, along with Conservation Investment Management. So, and we're always open to additional partners. So please reach out if you would like to collaborate with us. Again, your questions to be sent to incubator@cfalliance.org, and I will make a PDF version of this presentation available on the website. And yeah, opening it up for questions at this point. So I see we've got a lot of notes here. I see, Amal, you have a question. People are welcome to unmute themselves and ask the questions directly. But otherwise, I'm happy just to respond to what's been written. It's a little more boring that way, but happy to do that. So Amal, you were questioning the flyer says that we focus on idea and early stage projects, and could I elaborate? So yeah, the sort of greatest value that we provide with both the small size of the grant at 25,000 and the intensive support really has a greater impact on early stage projects. And so if a project or a company is further along, let's say, looking for seed, capital has already had a first round of investment and looking for the next, we definitely could provide value to that. But we are seeking those earlier stages. We're looking for the greatest impact possible on the project. So does the incubator itself provide great value for that? And so that's really the focus. So we would consider projects that are further developed, but as long as they're innovative and have the impact that we're looking for.
Hi, David.
Hello. Yeah,
Hi.
how are you?
This is Konstantin from Germany. Maybe you remember me. We are also part of the CFA.
Yes, I do.
And yeah, I haven't been in contact for a long time. What I would like to know is how many organizations or projects have actually applied for this for this round last year, and how many have actually been accepted? So what is the percentage of projects that have been accepted by this program?
Yeah, that's a great question. So last year we only accepted 7 projects and we had about 74, 75 applications. So it's about 10%. Yeah. So
Okay.
it's, but not all of them. I would say last year a lot of them that applied were more conservation enterprises. And so, if people really are focused on conservation finance, there was actually a better ratio. Yeah, if you understand that distinction.
Yeah. Okay. Just one other question. Of course, the name of the organization is Conservation Finance. Could it also be restoration projects or restoration initiatives, or are you only looking into conservation?
Yeah, a great question as well. We are definitely open to restoration, with as long as it has a natural ecosystem focus, obviously. But all good restoration does, right? So, yeah, definitely open to that.
Okay,
All right,
excellent.
Carl.
Thank you.
Sure, Constantine. Thanks for the questions. And Carl, over to you.
Hi, can you hear me?
We can, yes.
Okay. Well, good evening to you. Good morning. so I have a few questions, David. One is around the concept paper stages closes tomorrow, if I read it right. And that's pretty hard, is it, or not?
I am not sure. Let's extend that. We can extend that for a few more days as well. So that's
Okay, I just mentioned that because I need to talk to a couple of partners about one of the concepts I might send in, and that leads me to the next one. How many can we send multiple concepts in?
yes, you can.
Yeah, great. And is the kind of concept assessment stage in any way used to be indicative of whether something has value or not? I mean, would you look at something and say that, you know, like don't go further with that? It's just not what we're interested in.
That is definitely one potential outcome. The goal is
Okay.
not to discourage you, but to help, kind of refine and redirect the idea. For some reason, it's not appropriate, but yeah, if you got multiple concepts and you want to vet a few, then this is the way to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And then last question is well, second to last. On the $25,000 awards, is there a way in which that is factored into how you give to an awardee, or not? How do you make the difference between a financial award and not giving a financial award, but continuing to mentor some, a potential concept team?
So, in the past, so there's a great question there. In the past, we have, prioritized the sort of highest ranked, the best scored projects on our criteria. But then we also asked the question of, is this 25,000 grant going to be meaningful? Some of the organizations, it wasn't going to make a difference. And so we, I believe in one or two cases, switched to priority in that case. In other words, we want to make sure that the 25,000 has impact. And so in some cases, it was clear that it was more useful. Whereas in the other cases, the mentorship was what was really needed. And so
Yeah.
we made that call, but for
Yeah.
the most part, it is focused on like the sort of top scoring based on our criteria.
Great. I just I had all these in my head, so I just lost one thought. When will you know that you're giving the proposal deadline a bump up to the 28th?
It's done. Annie
Okay.
can make that change on the website, and we'll make an announcement. We'll probably send out a note within 4 or 5 days or so to let people know.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I just remembered my last one was, you're talking about due diligence. So, if we wanted to propose like a special purpose vehicle or something like that, that doesn't have any history and probably hasn't been legally established, is that complicated when it gets to proposal stage and it looks viable? Do you want a legal identity with history?
No, the due diligence. So the entity or the concept doesn't have to have history itself, but the proponents will do due diligence on the proponents. So we would do due diligence on you and whatever the other partners are involved in it, just to make sure that you know what you're
Great.
doing.
That clears up everything for me. Thank you.
Thanks, Carl.
Hi, David. I'll go next. I wanted to follow up on the first question you addressed, which I asked. What is the expectation? Do you look for proof of concepts? Also, in terms of team, do you look to see like the full team with all the skills needed to deliver on that idea, or like just to be clear on the criteria? Thank you.
Sure. Yeah. The proponent, the proponent's bio and CV sort of background is really important. And so if you do have a team of people, that's super beneficial. That shows that you have the capacity to move this forward. But being a single entrepreneur doesn't exclude you from this either. So although having a team is beneficial, part of the incubation period maybe will identify the need to bring in certain capacities to your team that you will then try to work on as you go forward. So but yeah, so it's not it's a benefit if you have a team, but it's not a handicap so much if you don't. Sure.
Hi, David. I have another question,
Great.
which just came up. What status would such a project need to be in? Does it need to be in draft status, or are you also looking at projects which are already ongoing and yeah, have a which already have a basis?
Yeah, as I mentioned earlier, we're looking to have an impact. So if something is operational and seems to be on track and growing, or has quite a lot of existing financial support, it's less interesting to us. However, the innovation piece is really important, and so we prioritize that. So if something is gaining some traction, super innovative, and we feel that the CFA Incubator could provide a really important strategic or directional approach to refine it, that's definitely a target. So although but if something is already pretty well funded and is has a significant capacity, we may consider just the mentorship part and not the financial grant.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure.
We have something for you.
Great. Looking forward to it.
I will let you know.
Okay. Excellent. Okay, and Glenn Hearns, I see you had a question. Do you have size of project? Yes. Impact, in terms of impact, the bigger the better, right? So there's no preconceived size of project, but the projects, the way I always look at these things is a question of efficiency and cost effectiveness. If you can do kind of if you can come up with a small, let's say, policy solution that people haven't come up with yet, that could have a massive impact on biodiversity with very little cost, that's that's what we're looking, that's what everyone's looking for, right? So if it's if it's something that's going to cost a huge amount to develop, that doesn't exclude you from this, as long as the impact is substantial, right? So, but again, we have to judge whether that 25,000 grant is going to be significant in the mix. If you're developing an innovative bond instrument and it's a $2 million development period or something like that, 25,000, if it's at the very early stage, may be impactful. If it's later on, that's going to have less of an impact. Therefore, again, we move to just thinking about that if it's a good project for pure mentorship. Yeah, and maybe Ben, I don't know if you want to share any other thoughts from some of these questions. I don't know, maybe open it up to you a bit more. And if other people have questions, please don't hesitate to raise your hand or post them.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. The key is really, what is an incubator? It's, you've got to have some idea already. Sometimes people apply and it's not very clear. They have a problem, but they don't really have a solution. Or that's maybe a little too early. And same thing, question with about the team. The reality is often, if your project has advanced a little bit, you already have a team. It may not be formalized. You may not have, agreements in place, but you already know who you want to work with. So it would be great to see those people, especially because so much work, honestly, to launch a company. Just don't do it alone. Is the first advice. It's just try to find people, and there are ups and downs. And when you're down, having friends to pick you back up is important. So a team, a project. Now, indeed, being too advanced, then that's the question of what can we really bring to you, and just think about that. Your time is valuable, our time is valuable. And so if you're already well advanced, maybe it's not worth having one-on-one with we'd love to share what your project is about, but we may not be able to create the value you need. So be smart in terms of how you want to spend your time. But we always love brainstorming new ideas. I will say what matters to me in this selection is really people that really have understood the problem. Sometimes we have people who jump to solution because it's the flavor of the time. It sounds super cool. 2 years ago, everybody wanted to do cryptos. Like, great. What problem are you trying to solve with cryptos? And show to us that you understand it, that you've spent time with the local communities, with the people who will be affected by the project, and it's not something that is parachuted, from New York to somewhere in the Congo, and you think you have the great solution for them. That's an important piece of really understanding the local context and be able to, explain that in your proposal.
Yeah, thanks, Ben. Great points. Okay. I'm sure there's at least one or two other questions. Otherwise, everyone's great. We explained things so perfectly. I like that. But now's your chance. You have us all here. If you do have another question, please raise your hand or type it in the chat. Well, I guess there's a question from Tammy Tullis here. How would you match us with investors who may fund the feasibility or implementation? And thank you for this RFP, which supports concepts. Great, a pleasure. So maybe Ben, over to you. I'm going to see if you want to answer that one. How would you match us with investors who may fund the feasibility or implementation?
Yeah, I think it's important to see what type of, and that will be part of the training, what type of capital you can tap when. Because again, seeing very early venture go to a big private equity fund because they've heard that KKR has all that money. With that, you're totally outside of their target. And so you're going to waste your time. You're going to waste their time. So that's going to be the first thing, going through what is the right money at the right time. And at the very beginning, really, feasibility, it's mainly going to either be grant-based or what we call the love money, or sometimes, sadly, people call that the stupid money, which is, friends, families, and fools, the 3 Fs, but people who just believe in your idea at the very early stage and will give you that money. The reality, what we will help you do is establish connections with foundations, and that's where your feasibility money will come from. Then once you have a concept, there are several groups that are angel investors, so wealthy individuals that are really interested in technologies, or like there's a group in LA, for example, that does ocean technologies, and they just love putting a little bit of money into a crazy idea and see if it will go somewhere. So it's now you're bridging that. It's philanthropic because they want to have the impact, but it's already returned. And then if it's proven, again, if we're talking about blue finance, there are groups, especially one in Paris, that specializes in private equity for blue finance projects. And so now you're graduating to, the big league and getting money from those type of investors. But it's important to understand the spectrum and where you are in the spectrum so that you're not wasting your time.
Yeah. And the only thing I'll add to that is that, we've had cases where people have basically used this the grant for a feasibility study for, kind of, they had the concept pretty well advanced, and then so they really targeted the use of those funds for a feasibility assessment to go forward, and hired an outside consultant and basically allocated all that funding for that. So Alicia.
Hi. Thanks for the information, and it sounds like a very cool program. I have a question about resources available. You mentioned there's a number of resources available, I'm assuming to the cohort. What does that include? Are there data sets? Are there smart tools that cohorts can use to kind of develop their ideas and metrics?
Yeah, it's a great question. So the resources that we have, most of CFA's resources are public and they're available. We have a select set of resources which we've gathered for the cohort that are focused kind of on business planning and strategy and marketing and things like that. So that's a separate set of online resources, but they're not fancy tools or anything. All of our tools for different finance solutions and all that's publicly available, and so it's really just a set of additional resources for focus primarily on startups and early stage companies.
Thanks.
Thank you. All right. Well, I think I'm gonna say thank you to everyone, and really appreciate Ben and Jill and everyone else from joining, and very excited to see these concepts and have these calls and provide some feedback, and very excited to see your full proposals. So just to review, we're going to extend the concept submission phase, which was, I think, ending tomorrow, and let's make it open through the weekend. So maybe closing on Monday. Annie, I'm saying this for you, so you can make those changes to the website. And then for the full proposal submission, let's make it to February 28th. So we'll give it an extra week to the end of February. And great. Again, thanks so much for joining us, and thanks for your interest in the CFA Incubator and conservation finance in general. And talk to you all soon.